if you have someone to take care of your client when they can text, when they can call, and when you're not around, and if they are in need, like it's like absolutely emergency, my team know how to get a hold of me.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And time is always a problem. You know, there's that, I think I want to say it was like a Toyota commercial, because sometimes commercials they got some great phrases that they throw out there. If time is infinite, why is there never enough of it?
That is a Toyota commercial.
I recognize it. That's some deep philosophical shit right there.
Damn it, Dad, you didn't hit your 1 minute mark on swearing.
Oh, crap. Dadgummit. Well,
get demonetized. That's all
right. Put your fingers in your ears, kids, because Uncle Otis is talking. But you think about that, and in personal business, clients, folks, what's the number one problem everybody says is time.
Yep.
And Dr. Sass, because she's got a lot of smarts, she's going to solve it for us today. Dr. Sass, it is so good to see you today, and I'm happy to have you here. And yeah, just fix the time problem for us, Doc.
Well, good to see you too, Otis and Camden. I know we talk a few times, and I want to thank you for inviting me to be on your show and have a nice conversation, organic conversation together. And as to time, I cannot solve that.
Well, there you go. Thank you, folks. We'll see you later.
I have that issue myself, but to speak about time, I think is perspective, right? It's how you manage your time and how you look at time. And for me, I schedule everything right to the T, when I get up, when I brush my teeth, when I shower, when I go to gym and all those stuff. And I think when you protect your time like that, you feel like you have more, even though everybody have 24 hours. So we just need to be aware of how we use our time, right?
I'll ask you the easy follow-up on that without going back into the philosophical, and Dad, you can steer us back there in a second. But the
that's
more
where I always want to go.
I know. I haven't had enough coffee to go full philosophical yet, so I'm going actionable right now. And so Dr. Sass, talking about that, I always love to hear, how do you play defense with your calendar? Because it's one thing Sunday night to take the hour, plan out the week, put it all in your Google Calendar, do all that kind of stuff, and think, wow, I'm going to have a perfect week. And then Monday morning shows up and someone's calling you, the kids are sick. There's always something going on. How do you play defense around the calendar?
My husband is from Switzerland, so he's like very organized. I learned a lot from him, how to manage time. So like I say, we have our morning routine, we have our gym time, we have our nothingness time. And when those times are blocked, everything is off. No notification. The only thing that will interrupt us would be some emergency. That's it. We organize. I'm pretty organized in blocking my time, and I think as an entrepreneur, you have to do that. You have to time block, and you have to I have focus time where I minimize everything. I turn everything off. We work on with Pandora time frame, meaning we create our own Pandora. We said, okay, we're going to work for 50 minutes. And then we have our 10 minutes of, going out and have some sunshine or a cup of coffee in the kitchen or whatever. And that's how I protect my time. So
what do What do you say? I got a specific follow up on that. What do you say to the client who thinks that they're an emergency and that they need the help right now, but it's not really, it's not a big enough emergency to mess up your schedule and those kind of things there?
I don't look at my notification unless I'm in
That's a simple enough answer.
yeah, unless I'm in a block where okay, I'm allowing people to get to me, then I have my phone on. But if I need to silence my phone. So if like we in a time block like this, everything is off, and my notification is off, and nobody can get a hold of me. I mean, even right now, unless 911 call, nobody can like interrupt me. So I think it's a discipline more than anything. And if you discipline enough to protect your time, and that's what separates the people who are facile everywhere. I used to be like that. So no judgment. It took a long time. It takes discipline. It takes practice. It takes learning about what you want to invite into your life during that time block.
How'd you do that? I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask you anyways. How'd you go from, all over the map, shiny objects, phone calls, you name it, to here's what we're going to do?
Remember those times, the BlackBerry, the phone, when you're like on there all the time? That was me. And how did I go from like getting interrupted all the time to really organized with my time? It just practice. Every year we take time to organize our schedule, and we block. Okay, this is date night. Like nobody can. That's like an appointment, like your appointment to the doctor kind of deal. Nobody can interrupt you. So each year, about around November, we look at our schedule and said, okay, what is working and what is not working, and we tweak our schedule every year, and each month and each week. Of course, we take a look at it. And it's been years in the making, and now even now each year is something different. We look at what is the most important for us right now. Way back then it was like tiny little kids, so you're running around everywhere. Their schedule is my schedule kind of deal. But as you evolve as a human being, as the years go by, what is important to you is different. So you have to be able to adapt your time. But I tweak it consistently every year. We look at it, where we're going to block, how we did good this year or last year, and how we are doing better.
What do you think was the catalyst to kind of push you into that change? Because I always think that's an interesting thing. We talk, of course, with Tribe and Purpose about, aligning your purpose with your actions and how much that can help with discipline and those kind of things. What was your experience of the catalyst, the why behind why you chose to be disciplined rather than just going all over the place like you were?
I thought I've always been disciplined, and I read books like this, No Excuses, and always like consistently, continuously improve myself. And I thought I was like the most disciplined person, a pharmacist by trade, until I'm become aware of the next level and the next level. And I think it's just through personal growth where back then when my kids were young, I was just like everywhere, and I thought I was organized. And compared to mom, single mom who's running around, I'm probably pretty much at the top as far as being organized. But when I met my now husband, we were just dating at that time, and he asked me this question. He was like, why are you driving everywhere all the time? And I start thinking at my time differently. And I was like, Yeah, I start calculating. I spent 2 hours on the road driving everywhere. Let's make a stop here and there and take the kids here and pick them up from school. And then I start looking at that and said, okay, how can I organize it so I can do here to here to here to here, like point A to point B and then point C, one after another, instead of from A to Z and then from Z back to F, and and all everywhere. So when I starting to look at time like that, I protect my time. I become more disciplined and more organized. And for example, I back then I would never order grocery online. But now I was like, okay, how much time it's gonna take me to drive to the store, walk around the aisle, and probably get distracted and pick something else, and then spend 2 hours there, where I can just go online and spend 15 minutes and have it deliver in front of my door. So I saved an hour and 45 minutes there. So it's really the way you look at your time and how you value your time.
I think there's an interesting mental aspect of this, and particularly for moms, in
Mhm.
that, well, I've got to do this for the kids, got to do this for the kids, and how did you balance out that feeling of, because I'm a dad, I felt it,
Mhm.
of selfishness, right?
Yeah.
Well, I really need to spend time and read a book, or think about,
Guilt.
reflect on something, but the
Yeah.
kids got to go to swim practice or rugby practice or
Mhm.
whatever. So now, how did you kind of balance? I guess balance is the word that comes into my head, but how did you
Yeah.
manage that even?
It took a long time to get to this point again. It takes time to practice, and you look at your values. What's the most important to you, right? You have your business to run. You have a job to go to. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're wearing a lot of hats, and to balance it all is difficult. And for me, it was like, okay, I had my time with my kids on Saturday or after 5 o'clock this time. So I don't feel guilty about that. And you set boundaries, right? This is the boundary of work time. This is the boundary of family time. This is the boundary of me time. You have to have all that. And you have to, I say have to a lot. I just realized that it's not have to, it's a
Mhm.
choice, right? You choose to do whatever you want to do with your life. You design your life. And that's how I see it. I work with many mentors, many coaches over the past year to get to the point where I know exactly what I want. I know exactly where I want to protect my time and what self-love is. You got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can take care of your kids. So it's not selfish when you take care of yourself.
Mhm.
If you can show up being the best parent, being the best boss, being the best entrepreneur, being the best coach, being the best podcaster, you got to take care of yourself first.
There's an interesting piece I kind of want to dive into.
Yeah.
I asked it a little bit about this with the idea of, like the clients that feel like it's an emergency, but it's not,
Mm.
and those kind of things there, which really the bigger piece of what I was talking about with that is just people who feel almost entitled to your time. And I think there's an interesting switch, of whether you consider people to use the term like cutting people off, setting boundaries, all that kind of stuff. But this analogy came to mind. I'd love to get your thoughts on it, Dr. Sass. I saw this, and I've heard this in the sport environment a bunch, whether it's rugby or anywhere else, that it's like, the athletes don't really judge you for starting working out. I'm not going to judge anyone who doesn't know how to pass a rugby ball. I'm excited you're trying to learn. And
Mhm.
I think that there's a similar kind of thing when it comes to time management, priorities, and living with purpose like that, is the people who are going to be judging you for setting those boundaries, cutting people off, whatever bucket you want to put that in. They're generally going to be the people who aren't taking control of their life. The people who manage their life beautifully and have time for all this different stuff, and they set those boundaries themselves, they're not going to look at you like, wow, Dr. Sass, what a jerk. She doesn't want to hang out with me after. She's got a call after our podcast. But what did we say right before? You and I both have calls. We're both busy. We're both living with purpose. So the judgment's not going to come from me. It's going to come from people who are less mindful of that. What are your thoughts there as far as that idea of who's really going to judge you for setting those boundaries?
I would say I don't care. This is my life. If you want to judge me, have at it. And I believe if you live your life, if you lead your team, if you create a business based on other people's judgment, then it's not the right way to do. Mm-hmm. So you do you, right? This is your life. This is your business. This is your passion work, and this is your family. You do you, and don't care about other people. And when it comes to client, right? One of my core value is mastery. Mastery meaning, you're taking daily improvements toward excellence. Nobody can get to the pinnacle, but as long as you're continuously improving, and improving client experience is what we take to heart, because it's our value. And to protect my time and have my clients still being able to get in touch with other people, I hire a team, right? Mm-hmm. If you have someone to take care of your client when they can text, when they can call, and when you're not around, and if they are in need, it's absolutely emergency, my team know how to get a hold of me. But I'm not going to give my personal, well, I do, but I'm not opening up that space just for anybody. You know what I mean? You need to have that boundary.
Yeah, and those boundaries, I think, are so important. The thing that pops into my mind is an analogy of an elementary school without a fence, and the kids are afraid to do anything because there's no boundary, and so they hug next to the school. But then when the fence, and by the way, there was a very busy street there, and then the fence is put up, and it allows the kids, they know where they can go. So now the kids are out and playing and having fun. That analogy is the same thing with your life. When you set those parameters and those boundaries, Absolutely. You know where to operate, just like you do with your team. They know where they can operate. The left and right limits, the other way we talk about it. I wanted to shift gears because I'm fascinated by this, and you are not a doctor of philosophy or soft skills. You're a hard science doctor, and you did the hard science, and I don't remember the number of years. I'll let you tell that, but then you shifted to this soft, touchy feely stuff of helping people be people better, right?
All the woo-woo,
yeah,
all the woo-woo stuff. I think...
What the hell happened, Doc? I mean, that's where I'm at.
So my background is pharmacy. The doctor is the doctorate of pharmacy. So I've been clinical pharmacy. I manage pharmacy and stuff like that. But I believe the spiritual side, the emotional side, it has always been there. And I think it is innate in all of us. We may not be aware of it. And after I got brainwashed in the science field, and to come back and realize that we are a spiritual being having a human experience, right? And embrace our spirituality, our emotional lovey-dovey, all the stuff. And for me, it took I believe it was 20 some years ago. It is exactly probably, I'm guesstimating over 20 years ago when I was introduced to a network marketing company and it buy the product that really helped me with my health. And I got into that space and I just like, oh, wow. It just opened up a can of worms pretty much. I look at things differently. I was like, nothing is just all about science anymore. It's like you have nature and you have people. And that's when I start learning more and more about different things that make human, communication skills and different perspective. And I went back to my spirituality and read, I didn't prepare all this book. They just happened to be sitting on my desk. Reading stuff like Bhagavad Gita, A Course in Miracle, and stuff like that really open up my mind to our true nature, which is our spiritual self, which all is one. And yeah, you can go really deep on that with me. And I think I just went back to my root, went back to who I truly am and who everybody, we are all powerful being. And when we grow up in the society that, kind of brainwash us to be smaller than who we really are, right? And then you kind of, compete against each other instead of working together as a team. And I think this is slow. I slowly go back to that mentality, to that, authenticity of self. And it takes years, it takes a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and, different events that happen in your life, divorce and all those stuff happens. And then you're like, oh, I used to, I guess, judge or like, how can they do that? Or how can they fail at their marriage? And I think unless you've been through some type of traumatic event or, major event in your life, you don't see people as people. You have a little bit of judgment in there.
I'd love if you could kind of dive into a bit of the balance of those two worlds, because I always think that's really interesting. It's one thing we've got our full on woo woo friends we've had on the show, Dad, getting all into the woo woo stuff. But I always love the people who can kind of walk in both worlds of the, it's the idea of, it's like, hey, is there, does echinacea help me with a cold? Yeah. Should you still get the flu shot? Yeah. Like, the folks who can kind of look at both those, there are things that we can do that make sense in both worlds, right? Using the medical examples, of course, for Dr. Sass there. But I'm curious how you kind of balance those two, walk in both of those worlds. Because I think that is really, without going fully philosophical, I've had enough coffee now, Dad. There you go. No, but of what I always talk about, of like the meta-modernism approach of trying to take, the Book of Five Rings. We also talk about that, trying to take these bits and pieces from different things. Because if you solely commit to one area, you're going to be blind to all of these other schools of thought. How have you kind of balanced and synthesized? Yeah, synthesized? Did I get that right? There we go. Synthesize that. More coffee.
Thank you for that question. I'm going to try to answer the best I can. For me, it's not easy because you're pulling to both directions, right? Talking about being woo-woo, I was born being woo-woo. My great uncle was a healer, so I started meditation when I was 5 years old in Thailand growing up. So we would be sitting, my sisters and I will be sitting in the meditation room where everybody gathered, and the kids are the only one left meditating while the adults are just like sitting and chit chat. But, at that age already I meditate for hours. And then when I moved here, that was when things kind of switch. And, you get westernized and all this stuff. It's not easy to balance and I wanted to be like everybody else. So, I just adopted the Western way of being. And, I'm in my 50s. So I believe when you are younger, it's harder to see that you need to both walk in both worlds to survive in this 3D physical world. Because if you too much woo woo, you still have, you know, you still have to eat. There are people who live from just being out there in the sun, and they live off of sunlight. They can do that, photosynthesize. And there are people who still alive, not eating for years or not drinking. And there are documentation from those people. And I read stuff. I bounce back and forth. Literally, I did Reiki healing courses. I become a Reiki healer. I study, and it's like I think, as like everybody else, you get confused. It's like, where am I supposed to be? And you want to live in the woo world all the time because it's so comfortable. It's like non-judgmental. It's like unconditional love. And then you come back here, you wake up and you have meetings and you have all this. It's like, who want to live in that world, right? And then you realize, well, you chose to show up on this earth in this physical body, and you give yourself a challenge. So you better go through it. And when I realized that, I was like, oh yeah, okay. I have to do both. Remember who I am, at the same time participating in this experience that I chose to have. And when I have that realization, I try to balance it the best I can. There are days when you're like, oh, I just want to go woo woo, and there are days you're like, I'm too stressed with all the stuff that is going on in this life, right? To even calm down and meditate for a minute. And I think this is Ram Dass is a spiritual mentor of mine. He's no longer in this room, but I listened to his teaching and stuff. But he said it's like a dance, you it's up and down, it ebbs and flow, and you dance with life. You dance with your spiritual self, you dance with your 3D self, your human self, and then you can just go back and forth. When you feel like you're drowning, you come up a little bit for air. And there are always people around. You can't do this alone. You have to have someone that understand you, that you can go to when you are, either tired of life and just want to go away, or if you just think the woo-woo stuff is crazy and you're just like, there need to be a balance of both.
Yeah, it's so true, and I'm almost snickering to myself and thinking of the situation of some stressful decision or anxiety build up, and just going, no, I'm just going to meditate. I'll show you. and that I'm going to meditate this away, but it doesn't work that way. That's the beauty of it, right? You can't. You can't
be both.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You can't have this, the leaky faucet out there in the bathroom is drip, 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 and, spills onto the floor and all that. Well, I'm just going to meditate. Well, that doesn't fix the faucet. You might be more calm and see more ideas of how to fix the faucet after that. But you know what? That thing is still going to be there. And I think that's the beauty of developing the skill to walk in both planes.
I was just going to add there before you segue into your question. I think that's why, in the more Western mindset of it, why I think so many, especially men, are so fond of the Stoicism ideas is because one, of course, we got historical ties to Greece. We talk about democracy and all those kind of things. That's in the history books, but more so, I think it's this this balance that the Stoics have with that. Of it's like, look, I'm deep thinking. I'm thinking about philosophy. I'm thinking about the meaning of life and what the world should look like. But also, I got a job. That's the best thing about Marcus Aurelius' meditations is he's like, God, people suck. I'm so annoyed at people. All this kind of stuff. Oh, time to go be emperor. It's this really weird thing there of that, that dance, or I guess as the Stoics like to put it as the wrestling match, right? Because there's someone pushing against you. That's why you have to have that discipline there. I love that. But yeah, I'll throw it back to you, Dad.
Well, no, Dr. Sass, jump in there because that's way too open of a doorway to not step through.
Well, I still think it is a choice, right? We can choose to give up our beautiful home, our, digital computer, our iPhone, and just go live, in the remote jungle of India somewhere and live off the earth, right? We have that choice. But because we're so indoctrinated with this lifestyle, I want my, hot shower in the morning. I want my coffee,
Yep.
I want my, all this stuff that we are so entitled to and we are so used to. It's the lifestyle. And it still is a choice. We can choose to be more woo-woo if you want to, but I chose to balance. I still like the nice thing in life.
I think that's,
yeah.
I was just going to say, I think that's such a key nuance there that I think a lot of folks miss is you could go through and be like, I do not need this house. I do not need my job. I do not need this on this really deep philosophical level. And then you can go, I kind of like my new espresso machine my sister got me for Christmas. I like my espresso. It's like those two things can be true at once. You can have that mindset of I understand that I do not need these things, but then it opens you up of what do I actually want? I do want that espresso machine. I do want this. I do, and I think you're totally right there, Dr. Sass. That's the real nuance to it.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail. What do you call it? The nail right
on the head.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you like something, you have to give up certain thing to have certain thing. You give up your woo-woo life so you can have, more of a comfortable living lifestyle, right? And that just, you have to do that dance, that balance.
Yeah, and the balance. The management, we like to always say, because it's not just the balance, it's a management of it, has to be there because, or you know what, you could give up family, give up friends, give up espressos and
Yeah.
You can go sit on the mountain. It's right there.
Go meditate.
It's up there.
Go meditate in that cave.
I love my Nespresso machine too much.
Yeah, but I think that's the beauty of it. That's the reality of being a human, right? It is that. It's not the man, I just drew a blank on the word. The virtuous, the prideful things, if you do it right.
There's a difference between aspirations and just to take the easy example of just consumerism for the sake of consumerism. There's a very big difference there. There's something innate into us of having wants and aspirations. Those things. Sometimes those aspirations are things. It's status and those kind of things there. But I think you're totally right, Dad. That's still human, 100%.
Yeah. Well, and I think you have to watch yourself and ask yourself, am I keeping up with the Joneses? Or is this something that I want? Or do I need the new BMW because, Dan's got this fancy pickup truck. So my I mean, is it that sort of way that you start to think about things? And I think that's important. How do you take that and create, manage the business? Because I want to get into the business of Crush It on Cam. I think did I get the name right? I hope I did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yay. Bonus point for Otis. because that's a whole nother thing. Because what are you talking to folks about doing is looking good on camera.
You
And
know,
now we're kind of back into that shoot, yin and
Vanity?
yang of it. I mean,
Oh, okay. I was
yeah.
gonna say I thought you meant the vanity of looking good, but
Well, and
different
but
path.
we
that
all
is
want
the
to
vanity
look
of it.
good, right? Who
Right.
who doesn't want to look good? And we all want to look good on camera and off camera. But the crush it on cam itself is not vanity at all. And
Mm,
and we start we start with diving very deep into your purpose, right? Well, why do you want to go out there and actually share your message with the world? And guess what? If you don't know how to share your message in a correct way, people not gonna take you right. So communication skill on the digital space is super important. And for me, a lot of people think that building brands or being good on camera on social media is a lot of people do it for the wrong reason, right?
mhm,
For they just want followers and stuff like that. But what we do at Crush It on Cam is we lay the foundation where we start with your why, right? Simon Sinek books, start with your why, and we start crafting the message, and we start looking, okay, who do we want to serve? And in order to serve the people, you are the leader. And if you can't show up confidently representing your service, then, you know, what's the purpose, right? So that's why I created Crush It on Cam. And I believe a lot of entrepreneurs, business owner out there, they think they can just create their stuff and then people gonna come. Build it and they will come. No, it's not Vegas here. You have to educate them. How do you educate them? Is being good on camera, being good on sharing your message with the world. And it's not all makeup and fancy clothes.
mhm,
It's about showing up for the people you want to serve in the way that you want to be, the authentic you. That's what Crush It on Cam is about. And it attract many different people, and then they realize, oh my God, yeah, this is what I want to do. And this is why I want to do it. And this is why I want to show up as a leader, show up confidently as a leader
mhm.
and as a person who representing my service or my brand, because I'm making a positive impact in the world.
I love that, and yeah, we've talked a lot on the show about authenticity and how important it is to
Yeah.
leadership and presentation and things like this. I'm really curious, Dr. Sass, if you could talk some about just what that does for the folks, because it's one thing to talk about the authenticity, kind of to use the example of the conversation we've been using, the woo woo side of being authentic, all of that. It's okay. Well, what does that do? How does that change the way that they show up? How does it change the impact that they have? How does authenticity translate through the camera, basically?
And you become empowered because you realize that through the work, it's the transformation that people get. Like people would come and meet and to be in a group and realize, oh my gosh, I'm not alone, right? That empowers them even more. I'm not alone. And they realize why they're doing it. And
Mhm.
through the work, they get clarity. And there's one client that I can share with you this. She came to the event and she almost gave up on her business. And she have all these experiences, and she was just like nervous. And this is a doctor, and you're nervous in front of camera. And I think that's every human being have fear of public speaking, just being in front of the camera. But the transformation that they take away is is a millionfold. Is knowing why they do what they do, not just on paper, but within.
Mhm.
And and take away with them the empowerment that what they are doing is creating positive impact, and they shouldn't give up, and
Mhm.
they're not alone. And it's more than just, you're not a lone soldier, you're not a lone warrior, right? It is all the collective. We are doing different things together to
Mhm.
improve whatever we want to improve: the environment, the emotional health, the physical health, and you know helping people organize their taxes and stuff. We have all different type of entrepreneurs come through our program, but I think the transformation in a holistic way is huge. Is huge.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's so true. And in the thinking about what I learned today, I'm just I love the nothingness plan. I've talked about guarding your white space before on your calendar, but
Yeah.
when you and especially since Camden brought up the Book of Five Rings, and the void is one of the five rings,
Mhm.
and when you think about that and you're intentional into that, there's goodness in the nothingness,
Mm.
and I think. Miyamoto Masashi would be very proud of you for saying that, Camden.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. So I love the bringing those two together. So, Cam, how about you? What'd you learn?
Yeah, I think for me, and this is kind of a simple one, but I think in the conversation about comparing the woo woo with the reality of the world, and the philosophical level there, just how much the like aspirations are still human, and that those wants are still very human, and that I think that there's a desire to cut away a little bit too much of that sometimes, and that just because people can be greedy and that kind of stuff doesn't mean that there's not a very human aspect of aspiration, and that you can have that without stepping into greed, without stepping into being a bad person or anything like that. That there is a human component to that, and I don't know. I think that's something that maybe I inherently knew, and I'm guessing a lot of other folks have probably inherently put that one together before, but never talked it through all the way. Just that aspirations are human like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dr. Sass, how about you? What'd you learn?
I learned that I can have a great conversation with two great friends. No, for me is every experience, every encounter is an experience for me to go to the next level, right? And this encounter with both of you today has been a positive impact in my life. I feel like not so much of what I learned, but it added to the confidence that I have that I'm out there. I'm here serving my purpose. I'm here doing my purpose. And it gave me even more confidence that I'm on the right path.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Dr. Sass, how do folks find you, get in touch with you, see what y'all got going on next?
They can find us on crushitonCam.com. I know if you spell the word crush it all together, it looks like SHIT, but you'll find us on there. Other social media links, LinkedIn, Dr. Saz, IG, and Facebook. We have two Facebook pages. We have 30-day Facebook challenge, which is a free challenge that everybody can join anytime. There is one going on right now. So there would be, I think it's Facebook. It Let me correct myself. I don't think it is on my website, but we'll make sure it's on there. Yeah.
Great, great. And we'll have the links in the show notes too for folks. That
Oh,
always
awesome.
makes it a lot easier. Dr.
Yeah.
Sass, it has been great spending some time with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Otis and Camden. Thank you so much for your time. And it's been a pleasure talking with both of you today.
Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Dr. Sass, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, the full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.